like feel free to comment in the chat, like what are you excited to learn today. We'd love to hear where you're like tuning in from, whether you are in the Bay Area, if you're not. I'm currently in LA, so if there anyone's from LA, I'd love to see it in the chat. But yeah, we'll just get started in a minute to see if there's anyone else, and then we'll get started. Darsh, you can start. We can just share the intro slide for now. You're on mute.
Thanks. Sorry about that. So before we start, can everybody just type in the chat where are they tuning in from? Maybe the city, location. Obviously, you are all from San Francisco State. Just curious, where are you guys right now? Feel free to type it in the chat. And throughout this session, we are going to have a bit different session. We are trying to make it more interactive. So feel free to extensively use the chat, type in whatever responses. If you have any questions, you can type it in the chat and we'll be monitoring it to take a pause and answer any of your questions. Okay, so seems like mostly everybody is in San Francisco. Oh, there's somebody in Pune. That's good to know. Okay.
Oakland, Concord, San Mateo, everyone's in the Bay Area. Wow. I was in the Bay Area like before quarantine, so like before March, I was in Fremont area, and then I moved back down to LA. So definitely know all these cities. I don't miss the traffic there as much, but you know, nothing beats home.
Makes sense. And on a scale of 1 to 10, type in what is the level of enthusiasm you guys have right now. Like, we are not a big crowd, we are 18 people, so we are going to keep it super casual. So just feel free to type it in. Like 10 is like you are boosted up with Red Bull. 5 is like, oh, I just want the week to end. Okay, we have 2 people on 10. I guess everybody else doesn't have an energy level right now.
And it's okay if you're like a 0 or a 1. Like if you're not feeling it today, it's fine. By the end of it, we hope you get a little bit more pumped and you feel better and prepared, later on in the job search. But it's okay. We want to know your honest opinion. But so feel free to be share whatever you want. We're not here to hurt you, and we're not like super like professional. It's very casual, like Darsh said. Feel free to turn on your cameras as well. But we're just here to have a conversation with you all.
Sounds good. And the last, I promise before we start, is type in your major and if you are an undergrad or grad student. We are just curious, like, what kind of things are you pursuing right now? It's, I think, business, computer science, design, whatever your undergrad major is. Okay, management. Oh, are you all from management background?
These are my people.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. That's good to know. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll share my screen. And Ami, you can take it off from here.
Yeah, so just real quick, welcome to our career preparation workshop. Before we get started, I'm gonna introduce myself and the rest of our amazing panel. So I'm Ami Patel. I used to intern at Tesla. Or George, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah, give me a second.
Cool. So here's your lovely panel for today. As I said earlier, my name is Ami Patel. I interned at Tesla this past fall and spring.
Are you guys able to see my screen? Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Yes. Oh, we were able to see your screen.
Oh, I think you just closed it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay.
You're good.
Right.
Cool. And after that, I moved on to intern at Splunk, which is another tech company in San Francisco. It was remote this year because of COVID, but I had an amazing time learning at both of these internships. I definitely had to learn how to innovate, work with large cross-functional teams, and navigate my way through each of the different like realms and working environments. They were both very different internships, but very valuable in terms of my career growth. And currently, in terms of education, I'm a second-year master's student at the University of Southern California, pursuing a master's in project management. So that is my background. Before that, I was a undergrad at UC Irvine, where I did computer science and business. So I do have a bit of the management background for everyone who's majoring in management. So yeah, that's about me. I'll pass it on to Rithika.
Yeah, awesome. Hi, everyone. We're so excited to see you all here. My name is Rithika, and I am currently a junior mechanical engineering major at Lafayette. During summer 2019, so summer for my freshman year, I interned at Cisco as a software engineer intern. And then this past summer, I interned at Cisco as well as a data engineer intern. So that really taught me, not only all the technology and technical frameworks that I needed to learn, but also really just how to work with people in sort of a professional setting. And it was really something I didn't get to experience before. So it really taught me, not only technology, but also just how to cross-functionally work with business analysts and data analysts and collaborate well with them. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Now passing it on to Darsh.
Awesome. So, like my colleagues, I also work in tech, and I don't know how to start, but basically, I've done a lot of things. I did my undergrad in computer science from back in India, and after that, I moved to United States to pursue my master's at Georgia Tech in Masters in Human Computer Interaction. If you know what it is, type it in the chat. If not, no worries. I'll be explaining that. And currently, I'm working as an associate product manager at UPS in a division of UPS called as Advanced Technology Group, which basically deals with drone deliveries, HoloLens, machine learning stuff, all emerging technologies that UPS can use in their business. And I'm also leading a community of aspiring product manager, product buds. If you know about that, also feel free to type it in the chat. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk to you guys today. Passing it on to George.
Hey team. My name is Jorge Rivera, and I have an undergrad or a bachelor's degree in finance and human resources from the University of Puerto Rico. Along with a couple of certifications, one of them in project management, then data analytics from Cornell, and then leadership and engineering from MIT. In terms of professional experience, it's going to be a little bit crazy. I was an HR business partner for about 3.5 years for Boeing, and then I switched over for another 1.5 years into workforce program management. And for those who don't know what workforce program management is kind of integrating talent management and analytics together to build a talent pipeline for the future and right-size organizations and making sure we're moving forward. And then this last year, I took a venue and kind of a career pivot, which is some things that we're going to be talking about. This is all possible. I found myself being a product manager, leading the deployment of a web application that is helping prepare, stabilize, standardize, and improve manufacturing for all of Boeing, making it safer and more efficient for the floor. So I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation, and I'm really looking forward to just having those questions flow.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So
here
is... Yeah, go ahead, Rithika.
So really, before we dive into the discussion here, we do want to lay out sort of an agenda just so you guys know what we're talking about today. So today we're really going to talk about how to prepare your future career. And you might think of this as, let's just get a job, right? Let's just apply online and get a job. But really, there's a lot more to that than just getting that job. And really, there's a lot of preparation you have to do. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. So we sort of broke down, career prep into 4 key areas. And we're really going to walk you through the phases of each one. And feel free to let us know in the chat which phase you're most excited for. We're going to be talking about how to find your passion, how to create opportunities for yourself, how to best network using some networking strategies that we're going to share with you, and lastly, how to prepare for the interview once you do have that opportunity.
And so let's get started. So finding your passion. How many of you really know what you want to do? And be honest, tell me, if you don't know what you want to do, that's okay. Be like, if you do, feel free to share what you want to do. If you don't, it's totally okay. Because for me, this is how I felt when I was a junior in undergrad. I didn't, I was a computer science major. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I felt like I was in the right space, but like software engineering didn't seem like a fit for me. So what was my passion, and how did I figure it out? How did I know like I wanted to pursue the career I want to pursue today? And so next slide, I talk about where do I start? And I joined on-campus organizations, and that included like not only like the typical professional organizations, but recreational ones. So you're at a great place right now if you're in the MOBS group. It's a great organization to start for. You're at this workshop, which means you're on the right track already. And the reason why I say both recreational and professional is because you never know where your hobbies and other interests might come out from. I joined a community service club, and I'll give you a great story about how I figured out my passion and my career. But that's not all you can join. And then in the next slide, I show that you can join also online communities, such as Product Buds that Darsh is from and leads, Design Buddies, Ladder, which is a group of great interns, Intern Club, Augment, and of course Wonsulting, where you can find the best networking tips and tricks and strategies, so you can get your next land your next internship and future career. So these are great places to start to figure out to talk to people. You want to talk to people because you'll realize like what they're passionate about, and you can kind of inspire yourself to figure out what your own passions are. And that's how I figured out what my passions were. And if you have any questions and comments, feel free to like type in the chat. We'll be moderating the chat throughout, so not only me but my fellow colleagues might be answering them as well. So if you do have questions, feel free to type in the chat. I'll try to answer them as best as I can, just as a quick side note. But let's go to the next slide, and then let me talk about a bit about my journey. So the first slide, this is me my fall freshman year. I don't know if you can notice, but like I'm in the back, and that's my family from my community service club. And I was just a normal, average general member, a little of a family of 30 members. The club was actually like 300 members, but this is like a small subgroup. And I was like, okay, I'm joining this club. I don't know if I'm gonna fit in, but I'm just gonna smile in the back. Next thing you know, I ended up joining the appointed board the following year, and this is the end of the term. I got an award for membership development education, and I realized at that point I really loved talking to people and helping them realize their potential. I loved giving back to the community. I found a passion for it, and what that led me to next was becoming president of this club by fall 2018. And that is the lovely club I had the honor to lead. And I had the honor of leading programs, leading a board of like 40 members to like hold like fellowship events, service events. And at the end of it all, it was rewarding. Like I cannot express how much excitement I had, like figuring out like how we can best serve the community. So I share this story with you all because community service and computer science, like how can I connect those two? Why did they matter, and how did I use that to find my career? And that's where I started thinking about what did I enjoy in my classes that could correlated to my story. So in the next slide, I talk about like identifying your strong points. What events and assignments excite you? Have you attended any hackathons? Did you enjoy creating graphics for your organization, your extracurricular activity? Or do you enjoy crunching numbers, like building dashboards or doing advertisements and PR? If you enjoy these things, finding those elements is where you can realize what your dream career lies. And then Darsh, can you go to the next slide? So yeah, identify your strong points. What events or assignments excite you? And then next. So this is me. I'm thinking community building. Okay, that's one thing I want in my career. Next, I want to be people facing because I loved working with members. Next, I thought about I want to make decisions. I don't want to be someone who, just builds something without thinking the reason behind. I want to know why we're making these decisions and be the one influencing those decisions. And I also want to be a problem solver. At the end of the day, being part of community service club, what's taught me is that there's so many problems in our world, in our society, in our community that we can solve. So I hope to like mitigate some of those in whatever career I pursue. And I definitely wanted to be in the tech space. Coming from a computer science background and being fascinated with tech, I knew that was the right place for me. And lastly, I had a strong inclination and strength in data analytics. So as I thought about these 6 things, I figured out product management was the career for me. And I hope this story and like really taught you like, how I navigated through my career. And, once I identified that, the next step was just to create opportunities for myself. So I'm just gonna look through the chat real quick. If there are any questions, feel free to type them. I can answer any.
Or if everybody
Not,
who's attending this call, have you guys ever felt like, oh, I don't know what I want to do? I definitely did. And if you are going through that right now, this is your moment to ask a question to me. Like, how do you figure out?
if not, we can definitely say them at the end, or you can type them on. Because the next thing, once you find your career, you want to realize, how do I get there? And that's what Darsh is going to talk about next, is how can I get to that career?
Okay, thanks, Ami. So before we go ahead, like a lot of you I can see in the chat said when Ami mentioned, like, have you guys ever had a feeling that you don't know what you want to do? And a lot of you said that, oh, I'm feeling that right now, or I felt like that, and even like I changed my major like 3 times. So, firstly, let me tell you that's super common. Like, it happens to everybody. I think I changed my like not major, but what I wanted to become like 4 or 5 times before I settled down or something. And the best way to do that is to get exposure. Do activities, do like 5 activities, 7 activities, do in different domains, and the one you do like and you find your passion in, that's a green signal that this is what you want to pursue. For me it came through like I interviewed for a product management role without like not thinking what it was, and when I did interview I was like, this was the first interview in my life I didn't have to like like sweat out or kind of feel worried about, and it just went naturally like a conversation. So that was a signal for me that this is something that I like. It just felt right. So keep in mind about that. So next, let's say you found out that okay, I want to become XYZ. It can be like a product manager, it can be like a marketing professional, it can be like a finance person, entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, how do I do this? And there are basically like 2 paths. You can either start your own thing, or you kind of do stuff to get experiences to get a job, right? So basically, this is how I see it. What you want to do is you want to find out what is required for the role you are looking into. You want to research into the journeys of others who have gotten there, and you have to think very deeply about what is something unique about you. So there are like 20 of you on the call. Out of 20 of you, what is a quality that you have which other 19 may not have? And it can be as simple as, oh, I was a soccer player, or maybe like I'm good at dancing or something like that. That's something unique about you. And basically, how you get to these things is the column on the right. You network and talk to people in that role. You do coffee chats. You do extensive online search that, okay, if I want to be a product manager, what does a product manager mean? You attend webinars like this. You ask a friend. You have a mentor. I cannot stress how important it is to have a mentor in your life, and it can be a professional mentor, personal mentor. And I didn't realize this until I graduated from my undergrad. But when you have a mentor, it really helps you a lot to get exposure that, okay, what are they doing, what can I learn from them? And something that I personally do is write down your experiences and share them with the subject matter expert. So let's say if you want to become a marketing guy, uh, just write down on a piece of paper what kind of qualities you have to like become a marketing guy, and share them with like an alumni from your program. Get in touch with them and just ask them that, hey, these are the qualities I have, but I really want to go into marketing. Do you have any suggestions for me? So Rithika would be talking like how do you network with people and have coffee chats, but that is a really good way to just understand what they're doing and to understand what is that you do not have. And at the end of this section, I'll be taking any questions if you guys have. But moving on, that brings me to the other part, that how do you know like what experiences you need to get? So basically, figure out what are the experiences and skills required for that role, and figured out that things you have in your experiences. So let's say for product management, something that is required is like you need to have the quality to influence others without really having the ownership over them, which basically is nothing but having good communication and convincing skills. So have you had any experiences that portray that you have them? So that wouldn't be like, oh, I can convince somebody. That's not it. It's like, have you done something in your past, maybe an internship, maybe a student club, that shows that you can lead people? So once you do that, you get a particular list of things that, okay, these are the experiences and skills you need to get. So let's say with the marketing example, you are really good at like leadership and influence and like PR, but something that you are lacking is data analytics. And the world we are living in right now, a lot of marketing happens digitally, virtually. So you need to make sure that you have the quality to understand online marketing, or like using data to drive those marketing decisions. So that's a skill that you need but you do not have. So once you have these skills, you know that okay, these are the experiences I need. But something to think about here is like, what is that X factor? And this is really relevant in a lot of roles which have very less demand. Like product management, it has like 10 positions and 100 people applying. So what makes you really unique? And it ties back to the point I said earlier, like really deeply think about what's unique about you and your experiences. Because at the end of the day, even if you get the experiences in yellow, there are like 50 other candidates doing the same thing. So what makes something really unique about yourself that others may not have? Or what can you do that is something really unique? And basically this is what my funda is. There are like literally countless ways to achieve experiences, but the best way is combine your interest and passion to create an impact. So let's say you have been like in dance or like music, or you are an artist since like your childhood. So that's something your passion is. So why not do like a marketing project, or like create an app, or maybe team up with a bunch of friends and create a community for dancers? Because that shows that you combine your passion and interest to achieve something and to make an impact. And there are a lot of things you can do. Feel free to screenshot this slide, or I think we'll be sharing this slide as well. But basically you can do like school projects, you can be part of student clubs like this one, you can create skill based community. Something that we do in product management is create product case studies, like pick in any app and just discuss the app, like who are the users, why they are targeting them, what are the problems they are saying. And like you can do internships, hackathons, industry projects, side projects, research. You can just create like tangible prototypes. You can do volunteer experience, create a startup. You guys would be surprised how many people just create startups to gain experiences, and within 6 months or 1 year they just close it down. But what they have from that, in the resume, they were co-founder of something, or they founded something. And that speaks a lot. Like you went out and you did something that 10 other people who are applying for the same role never did. You created a startup. Apply for different awards. I'm sure like San Francisco State would have certain awards you can apply to. There are people who apply to Forbes 30 under 30, Times Award, and so. There are so many things. And the whole point is this just gives you extra edge on your resume, on your experiences. And this is an example I really like. So once you have such experiences, let's say you did a bunch of school project, you kind of created a case study, but uh, you did this. What's the point of this? So first and foremost is highlight your experiences in your resume, website, or if you're into coding, then something called as GitHub, and do really clean documentation. Because at the end of the day, if somebody looks at your profile and they see like just a wall of text on resume which isn't really like appealing to them, they won't be interested. So let me give you an example here. I'll open this website. This is a friend of mine. um, Let me just share that. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a friend of mine and a junior in my program at Georgia Tech, and basically he is something called as UX engineer. But he has what he has done is all his experiences he has encapsulated into a website. So basically, these three are projects that he has done. He has done a project which got like a lot of press. So he was mentioned in the History Channel, Curious, Your Story, the Indian Express. He has things for, let's say, design. So let's open this project and you can literally see what he did for this project. What was the background? What was the problem? What was the solution? And this is a great way of documenting like what you have done. So this is one example. Another example is from a friend of mine, Milap. Basically, what he did was he picked up an app, let's say Uber, and he just designed his own experience with Uber, like Uber for social media or something. Like when you travel, you can see like where your friends travel to if they give you the permission. And he posted it on LinkedIn. And why this was good is he used this case study to network with people. He reached out to Uber product managers that, hey, I've created this case study. Can you give me some advice on how I can improve that? So then that product manager would be interested in talking to him, and he would just like be okay, what have you got? And he'll literally show them, this is the work I've done. What do you think about this? And if they like it, they would keep him in mind. Like you'll have a connection that you can reach out to whenever you have a problem. Something like that. And this is basically an example from my LinkedIn. You guys can go and see it. But talk about impact, use numbers that, okay, I did XYZ and this ABC was the impact. And these are the experiences that would separate you from thousand other applications. Like the more easy you make it for your recruiter, interviewer, anything like that, the more attracted they would be to know more about you. And moving on, I would just give like a last example that I have done from last 2 years. As I said, like I've done a lot of things, but I think this is most relevant. I did an industry project with Home Depot in fall 2018 just to get the Home Depot name on my resume. Because when you hear Home Depot or a potential recruiter hears this, they're like, oh, I know the Home Depot. Let's see what this guy has done, or let's see what this girl has done. Next, I tried to get some internship, and through my research lab at Georgia Tech, I got an internship at UPS, which when you see on a resume, it makes you feel like, okay, this guy has already some experience while interning. And that gives them the leverage that they'll ask you about your internship. I applied to Georgia Tech Distinguished Master Student Award. My advisor told me, and I ended up getting it. So think about people who have all these things on their resume but don't have an award, but I do have an award. So that, I'm not saying that would be the deal breaker, but that might interest the recruiters more. Like you just created an experience for you. There are online communities that I started and I'm part of, like Product Buds, Associate Product Management Club. At Georgia Tech, I was able to do a lot of school projects, research, thesis, part of HCI Student Council, and I was also part of a student club as an advisor. So these are some of the things that you can do just to get things on your resume. And trust me, at the end of the day, you create a lot of friends. You kind of create really good relationships. You end up getting a lot of experience that you can leverage to get a job. So in the next section, before I move on, if anybody has any question, or if my colleagues saw any good questions here, feel free to let me know, and I am happy to answer it before Rithika moves on to the networking part. Okay. Okay, I don't think I see. Thank you, guys. I don't think I see any questions. If you have any question, feel free to unmute yourself. But don't see any. So moving on, Rithika will be covering networking tips and tricks.
Yeah, thanks, Darsh. So now we're going to go into some of the networking tips and tricks that you can really leverage to your advantage. So now you've, figured out your passion, you've sort of created experiences for yourself, like what Darsh was discussing through joining clubs or working on your own projects. So what do you do next, right? You want to start networking with people and really leveraging those projects that you did and leveraging that, the passion that you found. So can someone tell me what this is? Here's a few images that I have on the slide. Can someone tell me what this is? You can just type it into the chat.
Yeah, feel free to type in the chat.
Right?
Don't be shy. I mean, if one of you wants to mute, you can feel free to unmute. Don't be shy. We don't bite, I promise.
Yeah, exactly, guys. It's a job search page. That's all it is. So I still remember, guys. Can you go to the next slide? So I still remember, guys, I wanted to work for Google, right? So I would go to Google search, type in Google careers, and then if you go to the next slide, and then it would take me to that job page that you guys saw on the previous slide, and say I was interested in a software engineer internship position. I would just press that apply button, and it was so fast, guys. I was able to just submit that application in a minute, and I was so excited because I would then get an email from Google Recruiting. And if you go to the next slide, and they would tell me, right, thanks for applying to Google. We appreciate your interest in joining our company. And I was so excited. I thought they would come and interview me and I would get the job because they really wanted me to join their company and they were so excited. But then, a few weeks later, right, if we go to the next slide, I would get this rejection email. I would get the email, a Googler recently invited you to apply to this role and we decided not to proceed with your application at this time. And I was devastated. I got the email once I applied and they told me how excited they were about me and then they're going to reject me. And I was so frustrated and devastated. I was like, what am I doing wrong here? But little did I know, I was doing so much wrong. So if we go to the next slide, can someone tell me what you think the stats are for this role? How many applications do you think that software engineer intern role gets?
I think we got to start calling names out.
Yeah, 5,000. This role, let's say it gets 10,000 applications, right? So then how many people do you think get referred to the specific software engineer internship role? Can someone guess in the chat? Maybe 20. Yeah, let's just say 100, we got 100 referrals, right? 100 referrals. How many applications or how many positions do you think they hire for? Just guess how many roles there are for the software engineer internship. 4, 10. Yeah, exactly, 10, say. But now here there's a missing gap, right? Now what is that missing gap? That missing gap, guys, is the hiring team recommendation. How many people do you think get referred from a hiring team, right? They get referred from, say, a friend they have at the company, but how many people do you think go then to the hiring team and tell them that they just got referred? Let's just say 20 people went to the hiring team, they got referred for the application, and they went to the hiring team and told the hiring team they just got referred. So if I was a recruiter, right, what would I do? I would see that I have these 10 positions open for the software engineer intern role. Then I would go into the 20 hiring team recommendations pile, find my qualified candidates in that pile. And if I didn't find my qualified candidates there, I would go to the 100 referral pile. Only then, if I didn't find my qualified candidates in the referral pile, would I go to the applications. Guys, the applications pile is tier 4. It's the last pile that a recruiter will go to. So if you are following the exact process that I just showed you earlier where I would get rejected, then that is why you're getting rejected, because your application doesn't even get looked at. So type in the chat if you guys have been in that position before, right? Have you guys ever just applied online? Did you guys know this before? I know, I wish I knew this I wish I knew this earlier back in freshman year when I was applying to these roles too. Yeah, so if we go to the next slide, you guys might be wondering, right? How do I get into that hiring team recommendation pile? How do I get into that 20 hiring team recommendation pile? That is exactly what I'm about to teach you. So Darsh, if you can stop sharing the screen, then I can go to LinkedIn and share with you guys a couple of strategies. Okay. So we go to LinkedIn. Okay, can you guys see my LinkedIn page? Do I need to zoom in?
You're good.
Does that look good? Okay.
Okay, this
So,
is too much zoomed.
Close your messaging, Rithika. It might help.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Does that look good, guys?
You're good.
Okay, awesome. So the first strategy I'm going to teach you guys is finding common ground. Tell me something that you guys all have in common. What is something that you guys all have in common? I don't know if I can see the chat.
I think Dylan got it.
You guys are all students at San Francisco State University, right? So that's exactly what you can use to your advantage. You guys are all San Francisco State University students, and so your alumni network is really going to want to help you here. You want to utilize your alumni network to your fullest potential. So the first step is really getting into the 100 referral pile, right? So say I just type in San Francisco State University, and just now I find all the people who go to San Francisco State University. Say you're interested in working for a company. Can you guys put into the chat what company you're interested in working for so I can really tailor this to you guys? Okay.
LinkedIn, Logitech,
Apple,
Apple,
LinkedIn.
Tesla.
Okay. Let's just do Apple then. Perfect. Okay, so what do we have here, guys? We have a university recruiter at Apple. Here we have about 10,000 results, right? There's 10,000 people who work at Apple who are alumni from San Francisco State University. Oh, okay, wait, it just ignore me. Another thing you want to do is you want to filter to your school, right? So here I just typed in San Francisco State University. You really want to use the filter feature on LinkedIn and filter to your school. So San Francisco State University. And if I press apply, here we see that there's 795 results for people who attended San Francisco State University and currently work at Apple. Guys, that's 795 options to network with someone at Apple. So if one person doesn't respond, it's totally fine. You guys have 794 more people that you can reach out to here. So say I want to reach out to this recruiting manager at Apple, right? She attended San Francisco State University. She studied industrial and organizational PSY. And so then now I want to reach out to her, right? And exactly how to reach out to her, I'll show you sort of in the next slide once we go back to the PowerPoints. But my point here is you have so many options and so many ways to leverage that alumni network to reach out to companies that you're interested in, to reach out to people at companies you're interested in. How many of you guys knew that before? Okay, awesome. So now you reach out to this person, you'll maybe get on a call with them if they accept your connection request, which again, I'm going to show you in the next slides. So now you got this referral, right? Say you got this referral. So how do you actually get into the hiring manager pile now? That's an exact strategy that I'm going to teach you right now. So I saw, earlier in the chat at the beginning of the call, a lot of you guys are interested in finance and management and business. So I want to use that when I'm showing you guys how to find the hiring manager pile. So something to know is, or not something to know, but something to be aware of is people post all the time about companies they've gotten into and offers they've gotten through these happy to announce posts, right? So that's something you want to utilize to your advantage. I remember, I'm still a student, but I remember last year in freshman year, I would see these different posts from people, right? And they would be like, I just got into this company and this company and this company. And I'd be like, how are they getting into these companies? And I would be so sad, right? Because I was like, I'm not getting these opportunities for myself. So you guys have to utilize that to your advantage. And this is how you do it. So say, you're interested in the Cisco Lift program. It's a program for financial analysts and business. So what I do is I type into the search bar Cisco Lift, right? And what you want to do is you click more and content. And here we see that there's so many happy to announce posts. I'm excited to share that I've accepted a full-time offer with Cisco for their Lift program. They, walk through sort of their struggles maybe throughout this process. And then this last part is what you guys have to use to your advantage. They thank the people who helped them. A quick shout out to Lily. Lily is a recognition analyst at Cisco who helped this person get her role. Then Patrick Butler, who's a financial analyst in the Cisco Lift program. And this program lead, the Cisco program lead for the Cisco Lift, program. So these are the people you want to reach out to, because these are the hiring managers. These are the people who help this person get her role. So what you want to do is then reach out to them and say, hi, Wendy, I saw that you recently helped Navnit get her role as a Cisco financial analyst. It would be great to connect and learn more about your role at Cisco, for example. So these are the people you want to reach out to. Once they accept your connection request, you can tell them, I applied to this role and I got referred. Once you tell them that you got referred to the role, they will have to look at, your application. So that's how you guys get into the 20 hiring manager pile, is by reaching out to the hiring managers through these happy to announce posts. Does that make sense, guys? And let me know if you have any questions before I go back into exactly how to reach out to these people.
Hey, Rithika, there's a great question that I think you might want to answer is, how do you make sure we don't cross the line when we're reaching out to these opportunities, especially to strangers?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So really, when you're reaching out to these strangers, you don't want to ask them, can you refer me to this role? Or can you go and look at my application? Because I think that is crossing the line. Instead, what you want to do is build a relationship. And that's key, is building a relationship with someone. So when you reach out to them, you don't say, hi, Wendy, I saw that you recently helped this person get a job. Can you help me get a job too? Can you look at my application and give me a referral? That's not what you want to say. Because as Darsh just said in the chat, they're humans too. Instead, what you want to do is go and look at her LinkedIn profile. Do your research on her. So if we scroll through her LinkedIn profile, we see that she was currently at Cisco. But in the past, right, she was an accountant, she was chief of staff for human resources. So maybe tell her, hi, Wendy, I saw that you're currently a program lead for the Cisco Lift program. I also saw, I saw that you transitioned from this role as an accountant to now being a program manager lead. That's super impressive. I would love to learn more about what that transition was like. You want to learn from them. You don't want to just get help from them and then sort of break off that relationship. And really through learning from them and through, getting to know their story, not just getting help from them, you are able to build that relationship. I can honestly give you a story, guys. I had a call last week with a vice president of engineering at LinkedIn. But what I did is I didn't reach out to her asking her for a job. What I did was I saw that she was a lead of women in tech at LinkedIn. And I reached out to her telling her that I wanted to learn more about her initiatives at Women in Tech. And we had about a 45-minute conversation just about women in tech. We never once talked about careers. And so that's really what you want to do here. I don't think she would have responded to me if I just said, can you help me get a job? But since I was intentional about my message, I do believe she was more willing to help me out and talk to me about our mutual passions for inspiring women in tech. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, awesome. Is there any other questions in the chat?
Yes, a lot of hashtags, Rithika.
Thanks, guys, for the support. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I saw a bunch of woes and a bunch of arrows pointing up to the woe.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and Darsh, if you want to share the slides again, we can go and talk about how you actually reach out to these professionals. So the biggest thing when you're reaching out to professionals that I didn't used to do is just press connect. Just press connect on maybe hundreds of professionals and reach out to them. But that's not what you're supposed to do. You want to personalize your invite to each person you're reaching out to. So say, you're reaching out to someone who has something in common with you, right? You both went to San Francisco State University. You can say, hi, I hope you're well. My name is Rithika, and I'm currently a junior at Lafayette. This is the exact template you guys can follow, and feel free to take a picture of it if you would like to. You can say, I saw that you also attended San Francisco State University. It would be great to connect with a fellow San Francisco alum. Something like that, right? And by personalizing your invite, it shows that you really care, and it shows that, you know, it really gives them some incentive to help you out and to accept their connection request because you're intentionally reaching out to them. So once they accept, what do you do, right? If we go to the next slide. Once they accept, you want to send them a message. It's not enough to just, you know, have them as your connection because you're really not getting any value out of that. Once you connect with them through LinkedIn, you want to send them a message asking for a 15-minute chat. Start off by thanking them for connecting on LinkedIn and tell them that, you know, you hope they're staying safe during these times, right? We're in such unprecedented times right now. So tell them you hope they're staying safe. Then introduce yourself, tell, you know, my name is Rithika, I'm currently a junior at this school. I saw that you graduated from San Francisco State University and are currently in this role at this company. And then just say, if you have 15 minutes, I'd love to chat about your career transition from San Francisco to the company that they're at. And if they don't respond, it's totally okay. Just move on. You have, like we saw in that earlier results section, you have 794 more people that you can reach out to. So moving on, prepping for the interview.
All right. So you found your passion. You created your experiences. You started networking. Now let's wrap it up. You have that interview. And I cannot stress, this is your final closing pitch. You're going to seal the deal, or your effort or your journey of self-discovery and all the conversations. We need to make sure you're ready to close this deal down. So let's prepare for the interview. We're going to talk about 4 aspects. The first one, understand the job requirements and qualifications. The second one, prepare elevator pitch. The third one, prepare all your examples in a star format, and then your closing statement. So the way I like to think about interviews is in 3 phases. You have the pre-interview, which is you're establishing a connection with the hiring managers and the peers who are interviewing, depending on what type of interviews they're doing, right? You need to understand the job requirements and qualifications and understand the title. You just don't want to jump in, right, and get into something that you don't understand fully. Your elevator pitch and such. So, Darsh, next slide. Okay, so the first one, understand the job requirements and qualifications. I cannot stress this enough. One of the hardest things, and type on the chat if, like, sometimes you get a generic title such as PM of technology, or business analyst, or financial, or accountant, or marketing agent. Like, it could be so many things, right? And each job title is, sometimes there's industry standard ones, but others are company specific ones. So you really need to make sure you understand that job title. Then the second is that job summary. Whenever you're applying or starting to reach out and networking, right? Because we want to do that reach out. You need to make sure you understand what the job actually entails. What's that mission, that vision, and the objectives of that company, to make sure that when you're prepping, you're intentionally preparing for that interview. Understand those key responsibilities and duties. These are going to help you, forge your elevator pitch, which will be different for each type of position you work for. I mean, you will have a standard, and I'll do kind of an elevator pitch element soon. But you need to understand how your experiences, how your education ties into those key responsibilities and duties. And then the second thing is, please understand those minimum job requirements. Now, those are, sometimes they might seem like a deal breaker, but not necessarily, right? Because at the end of the day, this is all about human connection. So I heard, like, for example, one of my, the job that I'm doing now, it required intermediate knowledge in SQL. And I had no knowledge because all my background was HR. and project management. I wasn't coding or anything, so I just took a certification course. It took me about 3 weeks to get done before the interview. Bam, I was able to answer all those questions. So think about those things as you're moving forward. So, and then feel free to keep asking questions. So next slide. All right. Who knows what an elevator pitch is? Type in the chat. I want to see. I know this is starting to become a trendy acronym or words. We just need to understand, like, the elevator pitch is is your emotional hook to get those people interested in having, or finishing or driving home that conversation. So how do we break down an elevator pitch? So this is the way I break down. You start with education, right? So you guys are applying either for internships or full-time roles, and we're going to break it down to education. So what are your bachelor's? What are your certifications? What type of workshops have you attended? It might be a university workshop, or it might be a company workshop that you did either in a career fair week or any type of connection via the student organization. What's your leadership experience? What type of student organizations are you currently participating in? Any relevant projects, either university focused or outside? Did you do community service outside of your university, or are you doing things currently? Are you participating in any mentorship programs? Or are you currently being a mentor? That shows that leadership aspect, right? Then professional experiences. Now, this is where it gets tricky, where a couple of people will say, well, I haven't been given the opportunity to do an internship, or I haven't been given the opportunity to go do a co-op or just work somewhere, right? So that's where we kind of drive in what Darsh said, and what my other colleagues have said is create your experiences, either via a student organization or either a project outside of your undergraduate program. You can venture out, but create those experiences in order to show that, hey, I haven't been given that quote unquote formal experience or opportunity, but I'm creating my own opportunities. And then you close it down with value creation. How does your values align with the values of the company? And this is where it's going to be changing, right? Depending on the values of the company. And some of them are the same, they're just expressed differently. So just be cognizant of those. How can you drive that value down, right? All right, so next slide. All right, okay. So when you're in the interview, right, you review the key responsibilities and requirements and qualifications, right? You need to prepare examples based on those job responsibilities. How do you prepare a good example? It's a STAR format: situation, task, action, result. It's a very nice way to structure and think through your experience and how can you drive it home and make a competent story that kind of miles out. So situation is providing context. What was your position, your role, and where was it? Was it as a leader of a student organization, a company, a local store? Then the tasks is, what are the things that you thought were going to be the most important things to go out and drive to get results? The actions are what you actually did to move forward and move that needle and get those results. And then results are quantifiable, quantifiable measures or things that you were able to apply in order to improve or enhance something. It could be qualitative or quantitative. Preferably quantitative if you can present in metrics based, like I was able to increase, like for example, I'm a student president of MOBS. I was able to increase my marketing, or my restructure my marketing organization and my budget organization, and reallocate and increase the amount of events by 15%. And then due to the 15% increase of those events, I was able to increase presence of members, 20% month over month. Things like that, right? I just, something at the top of my head. So and then next slide. And then the closing statement, right? So at the end of the interview, so you did the pre-interview, you did breaking the ice, making sure you connect before, then you did your elevator pitch in the tell me about yourself, then you did all your examples via star format. Now, how do you close it? So normally the interviewers are going to give you the opportunity to ask some questions. Well, the first question that I normally ask is, well, what type of individual are you looking for? And this is where you grasp that emotional aspect of what they're actually looking for. And you're gonna grab the little nuggets from that conversation or that answer in order to craft your closing statement. So for example, I'm looking for an entrepreneurial person with high integrity. Then you're gonna craft your example around that, making sure you venture off and create your own experiences, and you don't affect your integrity by any means of measure, right? So those are the things that you're gonna try to get via emotional hooks. Just showcase your interpersonal skills, make sure you're passionate, right? You're gonna have a slate of people who are equally talented, more talented, maybe less talented. What's gonna make you stand out just beyond your experiences is your personality and how do you fit culturally with that company. That's gonna be your driving force at the end of the day. And I cannot stress yourself. This is not about being arrogant, but you need to sell yourself. You cannot, I absolutely be a team player, but you need to say or express explicitly what you've done to move the needle in your examples, all right? So that's how you essentially kind of close it out. So I'm gonna lead it. I think that's done, right? The presentation, I don't think there's anything else. Perfect.
Yeah, that's it. And just real quick, wanted to reiterate that, Wonsulting shares amazing tips and tricks, especially like if you're looking to networking tips and tricks that Rithika learned. That's actually how I've connected with my fellow colleagues here on this panel, was through LinkedIn networking. I met Rithika because she reached out to me. I met Darsh because I followed Product Buds and APMC Club. And then that's how I met George. So we've all found our way here speaking to you today because we, found LinkedIn, we use networking. So, feel free to connect with us there. Follow Wonsulting, look at their tips, look at their past webinars. There are a lot of nuggets that you can learn from and adopt from there. We also have TikTok now, so they're making stuff on TikTok if you're interested. I personally am not on TikTok, but I've seen some of their TikToks and they're pretty entertaining. So highly recommend you go there as well. And yeah, that's all I have and we have. But if you have any questions, I know we're up on time, but we'll try to answer maybe 2 or 3 before the time's up, if that's okay. But feel free to unmute or type in the chat. We're here for the next 2-3 minutes. Don't be shy, we don't bite. I promise we don't bite.
Thank you so much, guys. That was such an amazing presentation. Like they said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself as we're coming up on our...
Did you guys feel like you guys learned anything new or got to know anything new?
I learned so much. That tip about searching through the, excited to announce that I got this job. I've never thought about that. I was always why are people posting this? But now I'm gonna scour those. That was so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ani, I'd like to thank you for providing your tips, because I feel generally we've all been in that situation where we're what am I doing and how do I figure out what I need to do? And I really found your tips really insightful and helpful. So thank you for that.
Thank you. No, definitely. And I think never thought of, can you tell us what you do on the daily? In our past role or currently? I'm just curious, but maybe Darsh and George can start, and then me and Rithika can join in later. Because right now I'm in school, so when you talk about my past internship, I could. Darsh, George, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead. So basically, I'm working as an associate product manager right now. also managing communities, and also sometimes into the recruiting world. So I would say it's usually like morning I kind of am onto my day job, and the work of product manager is kind of like there are different spheres to any tech product. So like for example, Instagram that you see, it has like designers working on how it looks, it has engineers coding it out, it has data scientists tracking your data or usage or something. And behind a product, let's say Instagram stories is a product, behind that there are few people who are kind of the glue between different spheres of that product. So the one who kind of talks to the designers, engineers, and developers, data scientists, and also stakeholders like business groups, and make sure that the goal we have is achieved. So you are not necessarily a people's manager, but you are more of responsible of that product. So if anything goes wrong with that product, you receive like the heat, and if anything goes well, basically you have to give credit to your team. So that's the job I am in, and it's pretty interesting for me because you can be involved in user research, user interface design, engineering, data science, and just be a people's person, in the sense like you are easy to gel with and you like talking to people, you like interacting with people, and you are basically the one keeping everybody on board to achieve one thing. And project management is a bit different. It's more about like the logistics and operations part of it. But product, you also have to think about the strategy of the product, like why a product has to be the way it is. So basically, that's my job at UPS right now for emerging tech products. And apart from that, for Product Buds, it's just a community that it's more of a support group for a lot of aspiring PMs. We share like book clubs, projects, case studies. We share different job postings if people have a portal to share mock interviews. And I'm sure like Ami can talk more about it from a member's perspective. But yeah, basically that's what I do on a daily basis. And in the evening, it's usually more like I'm active on LinkedIn, create content, or like just network with people. I think since quarantine started, which is May, I've had more than 70 coffee chats. And these all are like people from different companies, or people like Ami or Rithika or George. So just trying to expand your network. And like my team at Product Buds, we are more than 3,000 members. Feel free to check it out if you like. But my whole team, which is like 13 people, we have never met physically. We've all been working virtually. We met for the first time virtually. So those are few things that I do on daily basis.
Yeah. And then for me, it's a hybrid role. So I manage a multi-million-dollar engineering portfolio for manufacturing. So it's a little aspect of business, finance, project management, portfolio management. I have about 23 projects, and I need to ensure that one, they're aligning to the manufacturing strategy of Boeing, commercial manufacturing. Second is they're actually managing their budgets correctly, and they're adhering to the schedule. And then I'm the interface between the executives and the PMs. So I utilize a lot of portfolio management tools, making sure I'm connected, and then filter that over to Tableau Analytics so I can have a holistic view. And I'm not a people manager per se, but I have a couple of PMs that indirectly report to me and a couple of finance folks that help me support. And then on my other role is a product manager for a web application that's helping the company completely just rethink how we approach manufacturing and operations. And then based on that, they take this assessment and month to month, and it's going to show us analytics and data, make sure what are our troublesome areas to make sure we need to go focus and invest that money over on training, culture, just a crazy stuff.
Okay, yeah, and it looks like, wait, did someone else chime in? I totally lost track. But it looks like we're almost out on time, but I think there were like 2 questions that really would have quick to address. How important would you say word choice is when reaching out to network with a professional individual, like using big words? I feel that what Rithika shared was pretty standard. I don't think you need to talk like, you don't need to use like extravagant words to get your point across. I think just being concise and clear in your messaging is more important, because you can use like tens and thousands of loaded words and the person's just gonna read it and kind of like be like, meh. But if you're more authentic, concise, and clear, I think it's more useful. I don't know if Rithika wanted to chime in like a quick statement on that, but that's just my viewpoint on.
Yeah, completely agree. Like, you don't want to be indirect, because professionals like don't really have time to read like a very indirect message. Like, you just want to be direct. Like the template that I provided over in the previous slide is like something that you can really follow to like reach out to people. And that's like pretty much what I followed to get most of my responses.
Yeah, and then have any of you landed jobs using these tips? I feel like Rithika should answer this one real quick before we, and I think that can be the last question we answer.
I have landed my first and final round interviews that I've had this week and last week through these networking tips, and I didn't really know about these networking tips when I like first got my internship at Cisco, and so I kind of just like applied and like tried to make my way into the company, and I guess I got lucky. But these tips are definitely like the only reason like why I was able to get the interviews that I got so far during this recruiting cycle. So 100% recommend them.
Mm-hmm. And one thing just to quickly note is like, we give you these tips because we want to give you an entry point into getting the roles at these competitive companies, because we realize that it's hard to get that first round interview. And that's also why we included interviews towards the end in our last prep stage, was because as much as we emphasize getting that your foot in the door, that's not the end of the journey. You still need to showcase your best talents and strengths and projects, which is why what Darsh and George shared is also really important. You need to showcase, you need to be able to articulate your skill set, but you also need to have that skill set so you can articulate it. So definitely all those touch points are very important. And like the panel said, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, ask us your questions. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure all of us are fairly active on LinkedIn, so we try to get to your requests as soon as we can. But if we don't reply at first, feel free to send us another message, because what happens is your message will be bumped up again, and we'll notice you messaged us twice, and we're more likely to reply. Just a quick this is a quick tip just for you all, because trust me, there's sometimes I clicked open, or I open the message and I can go back to it. So I'm not trying to ignore you, I promise. And just wanted to thanks MOBS again for organizing this event. We really enjoyed talking to you all. But yeah, that's all I have. I don't know if my peers wanted to say anything else.
I would just say the tips that you saw today are kind of as anything goes, there are countless ways to do it. This is one potential way, but at least for me, the more events I attend and TikToks I see of Wonsulting, I kind of get more tips. I think one tip that I used, which they gave, was just keeping in touch with your recruiter. For me, I would give an example that last year I interviewed with Microsoft, and that interview was solely because I was in touch with the recruiter. When we initially talked, they didn't have a role, but I kept in touch. I had a coffee chat with the recruiter and 30 minutes, and we never even talked about any job role. We just talked about experiences. And then suddenly one day I got a message from her that we have an opening, would you like to apply? So I think there are a lot of things and a lot of dynamics here, but at the end of the day, it's just portraying yourself as authentic as you are. And obviously, if you're interested or passionate about something, at one point you are going to become good at it. I interviewed for PM roles last year, and now that I see back to them, I can realize oh man, I was so bad at it. But eventually that was just the time that I got to know about it. After that, I created my own experiences. I did a PM internship, created a product club, did a full-time APM role. And now if I have to interview, if you tell me right now that, hey, you have to interview for this role, I'm ready to interview right away, because it's just the experience. It really matters. It just engraves those qualities in you. It gives you the chance to kind of go out of your comfort zone and try things out. And that's the best tip I would give. Just get out of your comfort zone and you will surprise yourself.
I completely agree. And thank you guys again for organizing this event. We absolutely loved speaking to you guys and sharing our words of wisdom. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you everyone
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank you so much for coming here and giving us your time and your advice. It's been great, and loved every part of it. And I learned a lot. I'm pretty sure everybody at MOBS did too. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Sounds good, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.